ब्राह्मण भारतवासी, चंडाल भारतवासी, सब मेरे भाई हैं। तुम भी कमर कसकर गर्व से कहो कि भारतवासी मेरे भाई हैं, भारतवासी मेरे प्राण हैं। भारत के देव देवी मेरे ईश्वर हैं। भारत का समाज मेरे बचपन का झूला, मेरी जवानी का उपवन और बुढ़ापे की वाराणसी है। बोलो भाई, भारत की मिट्टी मेरा स्वर्ग है। भारत के कल्याण में ही मेरा कल्याण है। और कहो दिन रात, हे गौरीनाथ, हे जगदम्बे, मुझे मनुष्यत्व दो। माँ, मेरी दुर्बलता और कायरता दूर करो, मुझे मनुष्य बना दो। जय राम।
Now I would like to call Swami Yajnadharananda Ji Maharaj to felicitate today's chief guest speaker, Swami Nirakarananda Ji Maharaj. Now I request again to call Secretary Swami Yajnadharananda Ji Maharaj for keynote address on today's event Vivek Chintan episode 3.
ॐ नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। Present on the dais, dear Swami Nirakarananda Ji Maharaj, other monks and brahmacharis of this ashrama, and all my dear students and dignitaries. It's really a privilege for this Jammu Ashrama, the Jammu branch of Ramakrishna Mission, to have Swami Nirakarananda Ji amongst us. Swamiji and myself, we were together in our training center. For those who don't know much about Ramakrishna Mission, when a new boy comes to lead this life of renunciation, they may join in any of our branch centers, but as a rule, after spending initial minimum 3 years in that particular branch center, all such novices who have joined different branch centers, they go to Belur Math, our headquarters in Calcutta, and they have to complete a 2 years term. That is, the place is called Brahmacharis Training Center. So both of us were together in training center, and from that point, to a great extent, I can claim that we have remained friends for a long time. So this time, really, we are privileged that for whatever short period Swamiji has come to India, he has chosen Jammu also in his short visit. And tomorrow we will be going to Srinagar for next 2 or 3 days. So That is just a brief introduction about Swamiji, that when I saw him in training center, as it's a matter of surprise for us, because there are many things we even as Indians find it difficult. For example, a very simple small thing. Nowadays, villages and small cities are okay, but people living in big cities, metro cities, you will see many of children also find it difficult to sit on ground, which had been our Indian tradition. But when I saw Swami Nirakarananda, of course, that time he was not known by this particular name because both of us were brahmacharis only. That time we used to clad white clothes. Sannyasa was not over. So, but I saw him, and like me, many were also surprised that many of our India born people found it very difficult to sit for a long time, but he used to sit very easily for a long time in meditation. He could speak Bengali, he could sing songs, and now also in St. Louis in USA, where he is currently giving his services, there also he regularly offers prayers, sings, and I can take pride for that also, that many of the Hindi songs Swami sings, I did translation from other languages. So anyway, that is just to show that we have been in a friendship mode for quite a long time, and really I feel happy on behalf of this ashrama that Swamiji has come here. Coming to the subject, Swami Vivekananda's influence in the West, let me remind you, I don't know how many of you know, yesterday I had a program in our science college. There, while addressing the students, I found very surprisingly that many of them didn't know that Swami Vivekananda went abroad in 1893 and delivered lectures which are nowadays famous as Chicago Addresses of Swami Vivekananda or the Parliament of Religions, you might have heard. So, for very few of them, of course, but that word was unknown, or perhaps they were not able to relate to that incident, especially 11th September to 26th or 27th of September, when the Parliament of Religions was held in Chicago. Swami Vivekananda transformed in a way not only India but also the West. There are undercurrents. If you go to present USA, there may not be many people knowing about Vivekananda, but there are undercurrents created by Swami Vivekananda's visit in 1893. So, some of those aspects we will come to know from Swami Nirakarananda ji. I remember an incident while in Bengal. I attended a program, and in that program, my co-speaker narrated an incident. He said that once when he was traveling in inner parts of Himalayas, in a very remote village, he saw one fine morning, as it is very common in villages anywhere. He said that some cowherd boys, those who take their cattle to the fields, so lots such boys were there who took their cattle to the fields, and one boy, in his own mood, he was resting between the horns of a buffalo. So that buffalo was grazing, and this small boy, he was sitting between the horns of the buffalo, and this person went and showed him a photo of Swami Vivekananda and asked, "Do you know who this person is?" Now you see, this person actually went there with an idea that in this remote part of Himalayas, in this remote village, there are no chances that people will know, and that too such a small boy, he will not recognize Swami Vivekananda. But when you showed the photo and asked that boy, "Do you know who he is?" Then that boy replied, "अरे इनको कौन नहीं जानता, यही तो स्वामी विवेकानंद है." So just understand from this small incident that what influence Swami Vivekananda has still in India. Any part of our country, if you go, people may not know in details about Swami Vivekananda, what Vivekananda did, what principles he lived on, what his main teachings are. People may not know in great details, but at least people know the name of Vivekananda. They recognize when they see his photo, they at least recognize from illiterate people to literate, highly educated, from politics to cultural fields, from science and arts to religious fields, whichever field you see, great people have been influenced by Swami Vivekananda. Not only influenced, many of them try to follow also Swami Vivekananda's teachings. So Vivekananda's influence in India, we need not go in details. Of course, today time and occasion is also not there. So I will not dwell on that subject for a long time. But what I mean to say that Vivekananda's influence in India is a topic which may require attention, which may require discussion. But more than that, it may be a matter of curiosity for many of us to know what influence Swami Vivekananda exerted or still exerting in the West. And for that, again, I would say that we are fortunate that someone who was born in the West, someone who joined Ramakrishna mission and read and understood and tried to implement a lot of teachings of Swami Vivekananda, and still he is working in the West. Swamiji spent quite a good time in India also, but now for last I think 17 years or so, he is in the West again. So it would be, I'm sure, a matter of great delight to know what influence Swami Vivekananda exerts in the Western society. So without wasting much of your time, now I humbly request Swami Nirakarananda ji to dwell on this subject. Thank you.
Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Revered Swami Yajnadharananda ji, dear brahmacharis and dear friends, it's a great joy to be in Jammu for a few days, visiting my dear friend and seeing this beautiful ashram that you have, and learning about the unique culture and history of Jammu and Kashmir, about which I didn't know much before coming here. So Swami Vivekananda's influence in the West. Swami Vivekananda had tremendous influence on the West, on society, but at the same time, if you ask a random person in the street, who is Swami Vivekananda? The chances are almost 100%. They will say, I don't know. So if they're students of philosophy, or if they're interested in India in some way, they will know about Swamiji. But I'm talking about the common person, the person who is just living their day-to-day life, who are not bothered particularly about religion. Such people, it's very likely they never heard of Swami Vivekananda. They have heard about Nehru and Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore. Swamiji somehow is not on the same level of popularity, of in the West. Now, why? Why is that? It seems to be a contradiction. We say that Swamiji had great influence on the West, and yet he seems to be almost unknown. So how do you reconcile this contradiction? Well, the answer is, as we know, that Swamiji did not care for his name and personality. If he had wanted to become a big guru and a big spiritual teacher in the West, he had the power to do that. But instead, he wanted to change the thought current of the West, the misconceptions that the West had about India and spirituality and religion. Basically, he wanted to change the world. So Swamiji was a world teacher. He had a message for the West, and he had a message for India as well. When you hear his lectures, you will find a big difference between what he preached in India and what he preached in the West. Why is that? It's because different cultures have different way of thinking. They view the world differently. So according to their view of the world will be their behavior. There is something called selective attention. I don't know if you have heard about it. Selective attention leads to selective action, selective perception, selective reaction. So suppose, let me give you an example. There was an American philosopher in the 19th century. His name was Henry David Thoreau. He made an interesting statement. He said, what is important is not what you look at. What matters is what you see. Now, how do you understand this statement? It seems to make no sense. If you look at the table, you see a table. If you look at the chair, you see a chair, right? But he says, what matters is not what you look at. What matters is what you see. So there is a study on this, selective attention. You will find it on YouTube. There's a video, just to clarify this idea, what I mean by this. There's a video of two teams on a basketball court, and they're passing the ball. And you're told to count the number of times one of the teams passes the ball. So you have to pay attention because the other team is also passing the ball. So they say, okay, the team with the white shirt, you have to count how many times they pass the ball. That is the test. So you play the video and you start counting. 1, 2, 3, they're passing the ball. So at the end of the short video, they ask you, they say, if you counted 15 times, congratulations, that's correct. So I was happy. I got it right 15 times. But then they ask another question. Did you see the gorilla? What gorilla? So I had to replay the video because I didn't see any gorilla in the video. So I replayed the video and then I found that in the middle of the video, a person dressed as a gorilla walks slowly to the middle of the court, looks at the camera and does like this, like a gorilla, trying to draw your attention, and then slowly walks away. So they say, did you see the gorilla? No, I did not see the gorilla. I was paying attention to the number of times the ball was passed. This gorilla came to the middle of the screen and I never saw it. So that is an example of selective attention. So you can see what Thoreau meant when he said, what matters is not what you look at, what matters is what you see. So Swamiji had this understanding that India looks at the world in a certain way, and the West looks at the world in a different way. We are looking at the same world, but someone will pay attention to something, someone will pay attention to something else. You may look at this world and say there is nothing but matter. And it's true, there is matter in this world. But the spiritual person will look at the same world and say, no, there is something else. Because they're looking for something else, they see something else. If you're looking for matter, you will see matter. So in the West, we look at this world and we say, this is a world of matter. And only after death, you have a chance of a different type of existence. If they believe in God, they will say you will go to heaven and reunite with your relatives. And if they don't believe in God, they say, okay, that's the end of it. So make the most of it now, because this is the only world. Now in India, there is a different understanding. The four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So in the West, the stress is on Artha and Kama. You need to, they want to enjoy the world, so you need wealth to enjoy the world. When you go too far into this, you neglect Dharma. Dharma has to suffer if you pay too much attention to Artha and Kama. And of course, in the West, the concept of moksha is very vague, like a heaven somewhere. Nobody has a clear understanding of what it is. In India also, it's not that it's very clear, but at least we know it means we don't come back. That is clear. So we don't come back to this plane of existence. So Swami Vivekananda saw this, that India has an understanding of Dharma and moksha that is lacking in the West. But the West also has some positive aspects. They have this zeal, this enthusiasm to achieve Artha and Kama. And it's not that Artha and Kama are wrong. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, I am Kama, but which is not opposed to Dharma. So we have our desires. It is okay to fulfill them, provided they don't go against Dharma. So Swamiji wanted to bring together the best of both worlds. The spirituality of India, this understanding of Dharma and moksha, with the enthusiasm, the vigor of the West for Artha and Kama, and bring about a nice harmony of fulfilling the potential of a human being. If you're extremely poor, how can you practice spirituality? You need to have food and shelter, and then you can think about spirituality. And if you have the best food in the world and the best dwelling place in the world, what use is it if you don't have any spirituality? So Swamiji wanted to bring these two together. And he influenced the West in many ways through his writings. So his name may not be prominent nowadays. It is there. Swami Vivekananda's name is known, but it's not prominent. You will not come across Swamiji in the media and all that, but it is there. But his influence is undeniable. When you trace the spiritual evolution that has taken place in the West from Swamiji's time to today, you can trace it back to Swamiji. All the ideas of tolerance, and interfaith and working together that are coming in the West, you can all trace them to Swamiji. Swamiji was the first one to speak about these things. Before him, it was nothing but Christianity. And they used to say, what is the proof that Christianity is the best religion? Because Christian countries are wealthy. So Christianity is the true religion. Actually, what happens is the Christian countries were exploiting the non-Christian countries. And they're calling it, that is why the best religion. So Swamiji, one thing he did through his lectures, he explained to people in the West the difference between religion and spirituality. He made it very clear. Before Swamiji, in the West, there was an understanding of religion, but not so much of spirituality. People would be religious, but not necessarily spiritual. Swamiji made it very clear what to be spiritual means and what to be religious means. And he said, religion and spirituality often overlap, but they are still different things. In the name of religion, you can kill others. There are religions that say killing is okay in the name of religion. So Swamiji said, religion and spirituality, sometimes they go together and sometimes they separate. When religion tells you to kill others, then that is not spirituality. That is just religion. Another thing that Swamiji said was that all religions are true. Of course, he heard this from his teacher, Sri Ramakrishna. All religions are true. Now, the Parliament of Religions was convened to prove that Christianity was the only religion. That was the purpose, the hidden agenda of organizing the Parliament of Religions in those days. Let us gather all the religions of the world, and they were so confident. We'll call all of them, we'll invite them to expound their religions, let them send their best preachers. They were so confident. We know we are the only religion, and we'll prove it. And we are on home soil. Let them come to us. Swamiji spoiled their plans. He presented spirituality, Hinduism, and Vedanta in such a way that people had to agree. This is true. Because spirituality is something human. It is not the possession of any race or any nation. But it manifests in some places, at some times, more than in other places and other times. That's all. But spirituality is a human dimension that we have. It's something uniquely human. You can be spiritual in the West, you can be spiritual in the East. The Atman is everywhere. That's why Swamiji said, the gist of his teachings comes from his writings in Raja Yoga. He says, each soul is potentially divine. He is not saying that only the Hindus are potentially divine. He says each soul, he includes everybody. Each soul is potentially divine. And then he uses the word potentially, which is also important. He could have said that each soul is divine. And it would have been true. Vedanta says that we are all divine. But he used this word, potentially. Why did he say that? Many people practice Advaita Vedanta, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. But then when you have a toothache, you cannot say Aham Brahmasmi. You go to the dentist. So Swamiji said, each soul is potentially divine. The seed contains the tree. What do you call one of these big trees in India? The banyan tree. The banyan tree is one of the biggest trees with the smallest seeds. So the seed contains the banyan tree. If you plant it and if you nurture it, it becomes a banyan tree. Would you say that the sea is the same as the tree? No. That is the difference. One is the seed, another one is the tree. But the potential is there. If you have the seed, you can get the tree. Now, if you have the seed and put it away in a corner on a shelf, it is there, the potential is there, but it will never become a tree. If you put it in the soil and water it, it becomes a tree. So Swamiji said, each soul is potentially divine. That is a statement. Then the goal is to manifest this divinity within. What is the purpose of human life? To manifest this, to help the seed become the tree. So he gave this message in the West, and it resonated with the people of the West. Why? Because it's non-dogmatic. He didn't say you have to convert to this or that religion. He didn't say you have to accept this or that reincarnation or this avatar or that avatar. He never said that. He says such a universal, profound truth. Each of you is potentially divine. Your goal is to manifest that divinity within. If you are a Christian, do it the Christian way. If you are a Hindu, do it the Hindu way. If you are a Buddhist, do it the Buddhist way. All of them, all religions have this. So manifest this divinity within. So how? That is the next point that Swamiji says. By controlling nature. We have to control ourselves. Controlling our own nature. Now that is a scary word, but we have to control ourselves. How? Well, he gives many options. He says, by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy. These are the 4 yogas. Jnana yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga. So the beauty of Vedanta is that we have a lot of freedom to choose what works for us. Vedanta is very practical. Just like in the West, people are practical about material things and doing things with their hands. In Vedanta, the sages were very practical in spiritual matters. They say, okay, what is your nature? And according to your nature, manifest the divinity within. You don't have to change your nature. Suppose you are a very lively person. It is by nature you're born like that. You are a sociable, lively person who likes to socialize. Vedanta doesn't say, oh, keep quiet and sit down and keep quiet. It will not work. Now, suppose you are a very introverted person, very quiet person, and suppose Vedanta says, oh, you have to go and preach and meet with people. It will not work. So Vedanta says, just follow your nature. Whatever is your nature, be yourself, that divinity will manifest. So choose what suits you. There is no straight jacket that you have to fit. If you're a sociable person, go out and meet with others and tell them about Vedanta. If you're quiet, sit down and meditate. So there are all these yogas to choose from. If you're active, do work for others. If you're contemplative, meditate and repeat your mantra. If you're devotional by nature, then do puja and sing bhajans and worship God. If you are philosophical, then think about the impermanence of this world. This world is here today, is gone tomorrow. Everything is changing in this samsara all the time. Nothing is permanent. That is the philosophical approach of Jnana Yoga. So when people heard this message in the West, they were amazed. This is something we never heard before. Previously, before Swamiji's advent, religion meant believe in something. You have to believe and obey what the preacher tells you to do. Swamiji said, no, think for yourself. Be free. Be yourself. Choose what works for you and manifest this divinity within. So that influence of Swamiji, of the difference between spirituality and religion, and the harmony of all religions, that all religions are true, that continues until today. People may not know that these ideas were spread by Swami Vivekananda, but you can trace them to him. He is the first one to preach these ideas. So, people who are truly interested in spirituality in the West, they come to these ideas, they accept these ideas, and they can follow whatever religion they want. It has nothing to do with religion. This is the basis of all religions, to be unselfish, to be spiritual. So this is the tremendous influence that Swami Vivekananda has had in the West, which is, I think he would be happy to be anonymous. He did not do it for his own name, for his own sake. He changed the world and kept himself out of the picture. So much. Stop here. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Maharaji. If you have any question, you can ask now. अगर आपको कोई सवाल है तो आप महाराज जी से पूछ सकते हैं. Now, I would like to call Yogesh Sharma to share his experience with us of the value-oriented tour at Belur Math and the other places of West Bengal.
Namaste everyone. Respected Swami Jagidaranand Ji Maharaj, Swami Nirakarananda Ji Maharaj, my humble pranam to also our Brahmachari Maharaj, Maharaj Harish Chaitanya Ji Maharaj, Brahmachari Dron Maharaj Ji, and my brothers and sisters. So I have invited to lecture on our experience last year to Belur Math, when we have visited to Belur Math. For those who don't know, we have visited Belur Math last year in December on the 125th anniversary of Ramakrishna Mission and Ramakrishna Math. And I would like to share my experiences to visit, to my visit, 3-day visit. It's a 3-day visit to Belur Math. So we have from our Jammu Ashram, we are 6 delegates with our 5 more colleagues. We have visited on 25th December, and it was when we have visited Belur Math. We have attended 15 lectures there, and after that we have visited old campus of Belur Math, and we have go to the places such as where Swami Ramakrishna, Bhagavan Ramakrishna Paramhans have spent most of the years of their lives, that is Dakshineshwar. And also we have visited Bagh Bazar, where Ma Sharda Devi has spent many of years of their lives. After that, we have visited Narendrapur, and after that, we have completed our visit. Because of my exams, I have come earlier, and others 4 delegates who come later, they have also visited Jairam Ghati and Kamakpuram. So these are the places that we have visited in Bengal, and we have learned about the Bengali culture and Bengali traditions, and also the values that we have learned there. I would like to share some values with you. Out of 15 lectures, I have chosen 4 lectures that I have that I feel is important and that I can share with you. The first lecture is about the message of self-confidence by Swami Vivekananda Ji Maharaj, and which is delivered by Swami Shuddhidaranand Ji Maharaj to us. And in that lecture, Swamiji, as you know, all that if you go to the whole Swami Vivekananda works on the Swami Vivekananda, whole works, complete works of Swami Vivekananda, which is compiled in 8 volumes, I think that. And in that, Swami Vivekananda ji always emphasized on the matter of self-confidence, how we become confident in our life. So, for that perspective, Swami Nirakarananda ji teaches us that if we have to make ourselves self-confidence, then we do not have to look after the outward agencies. We most of the times we tend to influence our confidence. We drive our confidence from the outward sources. We have to revisit this, and we have from the out of that we have to it must come, the self confidence must come from innate, from us, from our innate being. When it comes from innate, from oneself, then it is a real self confidence, and it will influence our life in a very different way. Then how it comes? It comes only when we see our illusions, our bondages, when we have awareness of where we have stopped. We tend to drive confidence in a very repetitive way, which is not a confidence at all. So it also wastes our time and also our life. So for that, we must overcome our fear, cowardness that we always run about from out of oneself. So, strength, fearlessness, and freedom comes when we connect ourselves with our true self. And when we connect with our true self, we drive confidence out of that and live life with more peacefulness and uh, sympathy. I can say that in a way. So I would like to conclude, not wasting much time of yours. And I thank you, Maharaj, Gautam Maharaj ji, for giving me this opportunity to speak before all of you. Thank you so much.
We have some youth also.
एक मिनट उनको एक्सप्लेन कर दो कि ये जो अभी योगेश ने जो बताया, ये लास्ट ईयर रामकृष्ण मठ और मिशन की 125वीं जयंती पूरे देश में मनाई गई थी, और सारे देश के हमारे जितने सेंटर से वहाँ से कुछ युवा लोगों को एक मौका दिया गया था कि वे हमारा जो मुख्यालय है कलकत्ता में बेलूर मठ में, वहाँ उनको जाने का मौका मिले और कुछ सीखने का मौका मिले। ये मौका सभी को दिया गया था। तो हमारे इस जम्मू सेंटर से भी कुछ युवक वहाँ पर गए थे, और उन्हीं में से एक योगेश भी था। तो वह तो एक विशेष अवसर था, पर उसके अलावा भी हम ये घोषणा करने में हमको बड़ा आनंद ही हो रहा है कि यदि आप लोगों में से यदि किसी को रामकृष्ण मठ मिशन के बारे में यदि और अधिक जानकारी प्राप्त करने की इच्छा हो, या सिर्फ आपको वैसे भी घूमने के लिए यदि कलकत्ता जाना हो, बेलूर मठ यदि आपको देखना हो, विवेकानंद के बारे में और अधिक जानना हो, तो आप हमसे संपर्क कर सकते हैं, और हम प्रयास करेंगे कि आप एक बार बेलूर मठ जरूर जाइए। जिन विवेकानंद का हम गुणगान करते हैं, उन विवेकानंद ने यह रामकृष्ण मिशन नामक, रामकृष्ण मठ और मिशन नामक जो संगठन बनाया, इसका मुख्यालय क्या है और वहाँ किस प्रकार से इस पूरे संगठन का विकास वहाँ से प्रारंभ हुआ, यह जानना आप लोगों के लिए, आपके भविष्य के लिए और आपके स्वयं के व्यक्तित्व के निर्माण के लिए बहुत ही कार्यकर हो सकता है। तो इसलिए भविष्य में भी यदि कोई जाना चाहे, आप में से भी यदि कोई रुचि उसमें ले, तो हमें आपको सहायता करने में बड़े आनंद का अनुभव होगा।
We have some youth also that are the part of this value-oriented tour. Piyush Dayal, Vikas Paswan, Yogesh Sharma, Sandeep Panjaria, and Vishal Chandan. In this context, I would like to request to our secretary and our chief guest to provide certificates. Now, I would like to call Yogesh Sharma, Vikas Paswan on the stage.
privileged to listen to you. This is my first time here. Mainly brought me. I have done my PhD from history. I'm a doctor. I just have a small query. You told about us about karma and dharma. So that when Swamiji taught in Western countries, he has a different type of philosophy as compared to what he was teaching in India. So he in West told the people that you can enjoy karma, but it should not hinder your dharma. Did he gave or told people any red lines to what should be the red line of the karma that a person should not cross, so that his dharma should not be hindered? And in the second question is in context of the present India. Do you think that the philosophy of karma and dharma which he taught in the West is not applicable in India too? Because India is also becoming a more money-minded country or more a country where people have more resources now. So, yeah, the mind question.
So I hope everybody. So I hope everybody heard the question. I'll repeat it to see if I understood correctly. Swamiji spoke in the West about dharma, and is there any red line, any limits that he talked about? What would be the crossing the line and going against dharma? I think regarding dharma, there is no east or west. I think the message of dharma from Swamiji is the same. I think the differences are elsewhere, because dharma is dharma. Okay, so Swamiji said, selfishness is immoral, and selfishness is moral. He said the same thing in the West and in the East. Selfishness and unselfishness are universal. So there is no East or West for that. So he said, whatever is selfish is immoral. Whatever is unselfish is moral. And that's a universal principle. So that would be regarding dharma. I don't see any difference in Swamiji's teachings. So the difference I found was that, so the red line, I don't know if there was any red line to cross, because dharma, as I said, is the red line would be same in the West or in India. It would be the same red line. And really, we know in our hearts when something is wrong or not. Now, Swamiji also said that different cultures have different dharmas. In one culture, one man may marry many women. In another culture, one woman may marry many men. He gave this example. And society would view it as okay, depends on the society. So dharma also is relative according to the society. Now, regarding the changes that are going on in India, India is becoming more affluent. I don't think anybody can stop it. So the spirituality of India will go to the West. Nobody can stop it. The Christians have been trying to stop it. You see, in America, they started teaching yoga in schools because the children are overweight, they are unhealthy, and they found true benefits from yoga. So they thought, let us teach yoga in the schools to the school children. So this was going on. Then the Christians said, no, how can we teach yoga? And in some states, they banned it. So it was banned to teach yoga classes in the schools because the Christians thought this is a threat to our influence. Then they found the children had been benefiting. Now they are again in bad shape without yoga. So I heard that in some places they say, okay, you can teach yoga. They went back. Say, okay, it is allowed, you can teach yoga, but you cannot say namaste. So it's just silly. Huh? So they say, yoga, yes. Namaste, no. That is not Christian. So you cannot stop. When something is true, it's going to prevail. Satyameva jayate. So the spirituality of India will go out and will spread because it's true. And at the same time, that efficiency and zest for achievement will come to India. You cannot stop it. You cannot stay in the past. You have to evolve. There's nothing wrong with being efficient and hardworking. Swamiji said you have to be hardworking. You have to achieve. Because this was Swamiji's criticism, that in the name of moksha, people had become lazy in India. Everything is samsara, and it is anitya. Why should you worry? Swamiji said, no, you're full of desires. You're full of frustration. And just saying the word is anitya, it will not work. Work hard, enjoy the world, but also don't neglect your spirituality. That is the combination. So you cannot stop the spirituality of India from spreading. It will spread. And the Western influence will also be here. I mean, it's good to have money. If you have money, you can have good food, you can have clean houses, you can have good education, you can have so many things. There's nothing wrong with that. And for that, you need money. So this is, I see it as a natural evolution. But of course, the negative aspects of Western culture will come also. So you have to use your wisdom. Take the good and leave the bad out. That is not easy. But like any novelty, it takes time to adjust. So India is changing very fast. And the adjustment will take a little time to get the perfect balance. Preserve your spirituality and become prosperous at the same time. This is the challenge. Become prosperous, but preserve your spirituality.
And I would add only one point, that this will not be something new in future. What Swamiji said, that we have to be prosperous, maintaining our spirituality. India has already achieved this goal in the past. You know, you used to be called Sone Ki Chidiya, we used to be called Jagat Guru. So when we were Jagat Guru, at the same time we were Sone Ki Chidiya also. That means maintaining prosperity and spirituality is not something new we have to practice. Only because in between some period has gone that we forgot our root values. Only if we take care of those values, and then if you try to progress in the world, there will be nothing wrong in that.
So I think Swamiji in this context, he said if something is weakening your soul, if something you feel that you are being weakened, so reject it as poison. And if you feel empowered by something, you have to accept it as a nectar. I think that was the message. How can we take a green signal or red signal if we are doing something? So we have to understand if we are getting empowered by something, so we can accept it, embrace it as an nectar. So I think that is.
आप सभी को हिंदी दिवस की बधाई। आप लोगों का ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लूँगा मैं, लेकिन मैं यहाँ पे आया हूँ एक आदमी को सम्मानित करने के लिए, जिन्होंने हमारे आश्रम में, आप सभी को नहीं, मैक्सिमम लोगों को पता होगा कि हमारे साथ थे दीपक, हमारे लाइब्रेरियन। बस लाइब्रेरियन बोलना भूल होगा, एक समय पे उसी ने ये पूरा बिल्डिंग का दायित्वभार संभाला है। तो उसका एग्ज़ाम का प्रिपरेशन के लिए उसको थोड़ा टाइम का और ज़रूरत था, इसीलिए वो हम लोगों के साथ रेगुलरिटी जो था, हर दिन आना, वो कुछ दिन तक विच्युति हुआ था उसका। लेकिन आज मैं दीपक को बुलाना चाहता हूँ यहाँ पे कि वो आए, और मैं हमारे सेक्रेटरी महाराज जी स्वामी यज्ञधरानंद जी महाराज को अनुरोध करता हूँ कि वो दीपक को सम्मानित करें।
Let me add only one more point. This should not be taken as some parting gift or something. This is just an incitement to bring him back.
Thank you once again to everyone. Now, at last, for national anthem, I would like to call Rahul sir on the stage.
Well, I wanted to tell you that we should stand up at our feet. So it's a time for national anthem. Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravid Utkal Banga Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uchal Ganga तब शुभ नाम जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय 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 थैंक यू